Imagine you had the chance to invest in Amazon in 1997, or Google in 2004, or Apple before the iPhone. Most people didn't, and most people spent the next 2 decades wishing they had. Now imagine a company that builds rockets, owns the world's largest satellite internet network, is racing to put humans on Mars, and just merged with one of the most talked about AI companies on the planet. On June 12, 2026, that company, SpaceX, went public on the Nasdaq stock exchange under the ticker symbol SPCX. The IPO price was $135 per share. The company raised $75 billion in a single day. On day one of trading, the stock jumped 19%, closing at 169. Space became one of the 10 largest publiclies on Earth, worth more than $2 trillion. So the question everyone is asking right now is this the biggest money-making opportunity of the decade? Or is it the most expensive hype in stock market history? Today, we're going to answer that question. We're going to go deep on the history, the financials, the bull case, the bear case, the risks, the governance structure, and exactly what you need to know before you even think about buying a single share of SPCX. Let's get into it. To understand why this IPO matters and why so many people believe in it, you first have to understand where SpaceX came from. Because this is not a normal company. It's March 2002. A man has just made $180 million from the sale of PayPal to eBay. Most people in his position would buy an island or retire.
So what he does, he decides to build the rockets himself. He incorporates SpaceX on March 14, 2002, and puts in roughly $100 million of his own money. The first rocket SpaceX ever built, the Falcon 1, failed on its first 3 launch attempts, 3 times. Each failure cost millions of dollars. He had barely enough money for one more launch. That 4th launch, on September 28, 2008, was successful. The Falcon 1 liquid-fueled rocket to reach orbit. That moment changed everything. Then in 2008, SpaceX won a $1.6 billion contract from NASA to resupply the International Space Station. The company was saved. In 2025, completed 167 launches. Launch segment generated $4.1 billion in revenue year over year. It's a strong, cash-generating business. Now let's talk about the IPO itself, because the numbers here are genuinely historic. SpaceX filed its S-1 prospectus with the Securities and Exchange Commission on June 1, 2026, applying to list Class A common stock on the Nasdaq under the ticker symbol SPCX. The IPO price was set at $1.77 trillion. To put that in context, at $1.77 trillion, SpaceX's IPO valuation surpassed Saudi Aramco's debut in 2019, which had been the largest IPO in history at a $1.7 trillion valuation. SpaceX shattered that record. The company sold more than 555 million shares. The previous record for capital raised in an IPO was Saudi Aramco's $29 billion in dollars. SpaceX more than doubled more than doubled it. The IPO was more than 4 times oversubscribed, meaning demand for shares was 4 times greater than the shares available. That's extraordinary for an offering of this size. By the end of the day, SPCX closed at $160, a 19% gain on day 1. At that valuation, Space had become a $2 trillion company. Who gets the shares? One notable aspect of this IPO, SpaceX deliberately allocated up to 30% of its shares to retail investors, individual everyday investors like you and me. The typical IPO allocates only 5–10% to retail. This was a conscious choice to build a broad, passionate shareholder base. The company plans to use the $75 billion raised for continued growth of its AI compute infrastructure, expansion of Starlink's satellite constellation, new launch facilities. All right, let's make the bull case. Because there is a genuinely powerful argument for why SpaceX at $135 per share could look like a bargain in a decade. With $22 billion in cumulative government contracts and a growing Starship military business, SpaceX has a durable, recession-resistant revenue anchor. Before you go, if you found this video valuable, please like, share, and subscribe. It genuinely helps this channel grow and allows us to keep doing deep dives like this one.